Good to see you. Congratulations. Very nice movie.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, what a house.
How many places has the movie played before here?
We've been in about 6 other festivals.
This is our first Jewish film festival.
Yeah. But a few other festivals around the country so far.
Did the non-Jewish festivals get it?
They did get it. They did get it. The Passover scene played particularly well with this crew.
Are you from Scarsdale? Are you from Scarsdale originally?
No, I'm actually born and bred in Manhattan, actually.
Okay.
But Scarsdale.
My ex-wife, the second ex-wife, was from Scarsdale.
Oh.
My ex-girlfriend was from Scarsdale. That's true.
Oh yeah, Jake was straight in college. That's how we met.
Yeah.
You were straight in
I'm
college.
gay now.
I don't know if we want to go there or not.
We'll go there.
Okay. So one day you said, I'm gay. Like, I guess that's how it works. I don't know.
I moved to New York and then I was like, I'm gay.
I mean, he was gay.
Okay. So how much of the movie is real and how much is made up? I mean, is this like your life story on screen or what?
Mine particularly?
Yeah.
No, we wrote the script together, and I would say it's all pretty much a fictitious story. Jake and I are both huge fans of comedy and huge lovers of comedy, so we wanted to pay an homage to comedy and make a film about the improv world, which we really haven't seen yet. But as far as the family life and all that kind of thing, that is either of our families. So that was, pulled from stories.
But it's very
here and there.
real.
Very real. I mean, there's definitely elements of family.
I went through that.
Yeah.
Except my mother-in-law didn't know where the kitchen was.
Oh. The whole thing in the car with the yelling, that is a true, a lot of them are stories that we've heard that we put in there, but the story was created by us.
Yeah.
So Roosevelt Island, that's not a real
Well, that's a real thing.
That's
Roosevelt
real.
Island is a real thing. Neither of us live there, but people do live there, and you actually
No, I mean, I know it's a real thing. It's just, I never knew anybody that lived there.
Yeah, but like, especially when that doesn't play in New York, like you actually do get there by that tram. So like, if that tram goes down, like, good luck. Not an ideal living location.
No.
Anybody want to ask
Yeah,
anything?
Q&A.
Yeah, any questions?
There's one back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scream it out.
Was it really fun to film the screen and
She was doing a great job.
and were those actually, did they actually have to listen to some of those words? Like the little kids, I feel bad for them.
Are you going to take this one?
I'll take this one. Well, actually, in the Passover scene, that little kid, we actually shot him first so that he could leave. So he actually wasn't there during that section. We were closed up on the grandfather. That grandfather, too, was 96. So he was, he was a star. And he, we were just kind of feeding him the lines as we would go. I'd be like, okay, now you're going to say, aren't you a... And he'd be like, really? And I was like, yeah, just say it, like 3 times.
He wasn't an actor?
He was an actor, but he was, he was
past
older.
his heyday.
Sort of
Yeah,
like
we would
Bob
just
Hope.
be like, shooting the scene, and he'd be like, is my car here? Like, while we're rolling. Like he fell asleep at one point, he didn't really know what was happening. But on camera, he's gold, he's genius. But it was so fun to shoot it all. I mean, this was our first feature film. I have directed a lot of shorts before, or a lot of shorter, like episodic things, but never anything this long. So this was kind of, up until this movie, the extent of a crew that I had was like Sas holding a clamp light and like my friend like doing the microphone underneath the camera. And this we had like 40 people on set for a crew. So like, we were so happy. Every day we went in, we were like so happy, and that just trickles down, because from the director it just goes to the crew. So all the crew was kind of like, why is everybody so happy? This is like an indie feature. Like most people are always like, ugh, the bathrooms don't have any toilet. People are always so negative, but like there was nothing negative for us. We never had any money before, so to have some money to make a movie, like,
So how did you finance it?
We raised the money all ourselves privately through private investors. So Jake and I both come from the theater world. We met at the University of Michigan. He was a musical theater major.
Anyone? Go Blue?
Go Blue! Woo-hoo! And we met there, and we both come from the theater world. And in the theater world, when you are trying to get a project off the ground, you traditionally have readings where truly you'll sit in chairs like this and
we
read
did
the
this.
script.
We invited anybody who we knew who we had never asked favors of that would maybe have some money, maybe be interested in getting the movie business. And we had about 10 actors just sitting like this in stools with scripts, just reading the script. so that they could see, we would see what worked, what laughed, and if they liked it, then we'd be like, we'd love to have you come on board for the film. And luckily, the process from those readings until shooting was under a year, so we really, really lucked out.
We have very beloved people in our lives who are willing to take a risk.
So are these people sitting there waiting for checks?
Yes. A few of the people are in the audience right now.
But the great news is...
Some financiers are here?
Yeah,
some financiers.
My financiers would be my father.
One of our financiers here.
Where is he?
Who also, he's right there, and he actually also played one of the law partners in the law firm.
Oh, yeah.
We were always strapped for extras like above the age of 40, so we were like, yep, you're in it, come here today, put on a blazer. But good news in that front is that we did sell the movie, so we got distribution for the movie. So it'll be, thank you. So if you liked it and you're telling your friends to come tomorrow, which apparently is sold out, but still tell them to come and wait because they can take my seat if they want to come. But if they can't see it tomorrow or they don't live in Atlanta, obviously, it's going to be available on Amazon and on demand and iTunes and Hulu all in May. So if you like us or follow us on Twitter, you must be joking. You'll get all the updates.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
about the co-writing process.
Yeah.
How was that?
The co-writing process.
How was the co-writing process? I think for each writer it's different. For Jake and I, the second we started writing together, everything clicked. It kind of all fell into place. We're both not particularly sensitive people and don't have huge egos, so Jake would be like, Sas, that's a terrible joke. That was terrible. And I'd be like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. And we keep on going on rather than be like, what do you mean? And take it so offensively and not be able to get over the fact that he didn't like that one joke in the bris scene. So it moved fast that way.
You let go of that.
And,
So you cut the joke.
you got a few jokes.
Well, actually, too.
That's why I'm here and they're there.
But in terms of, like splitting up the stuff, like Sas pretty much took the lead for the first drafts of all the family scenes because I'm actually not Jewish. I know, you would never believe it. But,
and I am Jewish. You wouldn't get that.
Shock.
Right.
But, so she kind of would write all of that stuff, and then, I would come in and be like, well, Billy would say this. What's, haroset? It looks like dog food, because Jake would know what haroset is, you know what I mean? So that
and
was
Jake came to a Passover at my house right before
for
we
research.
filmed.
I
For
did.
research. Yeah.
And I saw the little
Mirrors,
egg
the whole
thing and
yeah.
like that piece of wood or something. There was a little tangled piece of wood or something.
We'll talk about this after.
Yeah, question.
Yes.
Yeah, Sas, are you doing or will you be doing anything else with comedy per se? You got some chops, kid.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. Well, in fact, funny, we can talk about it, right? Jake and I, after we premiered the movie in Seattle at the Seattle International Film Festival, and the big takeaway that people got was they wanted to see more Jake and I on screen. They liked our chemistry, and they wanted more Billy and Barb.
They were like, could this be a TV show? We were like, we don't really want to make this a TV show. Like, Barb's kind of a little, Sas is cooler than Barb, and I'm not like as fabulous as Billy. And like, we kind of would much rather do a show that's more Sas and Jake as Sas and Jake.
So we wrote, we kind of pitched out and wrote a TV show based on us, and we sold it to Warner Brothers. So we're in development with them right now. So that's the baby.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey girl.
My question, I love the movie by the way.
Thank you.
What is your personal relationship with improv and how did that lend itself to this story?
Well, we both kind of always, we always grew up in theater and in acting classes and kind of, there was always kind of improv along the way there whenever we moved to New York, or Sas is from New York, but after school, college, I moved to New York and I kind of got more into the writing at Upright Citizens Brigade. I took all their sketch writing classes and all
There's
that
an
kind of
improv
stuff.
place in New York where people take classes.
Amy Poehler founded the Upright Citizens Brigade, and a lot of big comedians have come out of that. Broad City, if you guys have ever seen Broad City, which is on Comedy Central, Alana and Abby, they are Upright Citizens Brigade girls. Sas did the entire improv. She took all the improv classes there. I'll let you talk about
Yeah,
that.
so we had a huge, love with improv. It's a really embarrassing experience, to totally be honest with you. You go into this room with like 12 people you've never met before, all different ages, all different shapes and sizes, and you kind of have to like be funny in front of people, and it's just an awkward experience. We want those series of games that we played in that first improv scene are all true improv games.
And actually
You know
improvs,
them?
too.
Yes. Oh, improv
perfect.
folk. You get the lingo. Yes.
Thank you. Well, we also encourage the actors a lot because we hired so many comedians. a lot of this movie was improv. You know, we'd kind of shoot it as a script, and then if we had any extra time, I'd be like, all right, now just kind of, you know, play around with this one this time. Or if we would, in rehearsal, find a moment where, you know, Hannibal would be like, hey, I like your shirt. I'd be like, great, do that every time. You know, like we would just encourage improvisation on set all the time.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
You did some great dancing. That was you, right? Dancing?
Oh, well, it was half me. Thank you. We had we were lucky enough to have a principal dancer from American Ballet Theater who was my body double, which we were toying around with in the edit, like, should we make it really obvious that it's a body double? You know, like have a joke where I'm kind of like, and then like, it's so obvious, but apparently not. So, thank you.
That's great.
Anyone
Well,
else?
you guys are big time with a body double. I mean,
Yeah, huge.
not cheap. You know, you talked about the improv and everything else, but there's so many things in the film that are so real. I mean, the audition you went on.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been ever on an audition, that's a lot of that's not made up. It's,
Before we wrote this together, I was just strictly an actress. So like those humiliating experiences happened to me 4 times a day. So I'm pretty familiar with
That's
that.
still my favorite scene. I mean, every time I watch the audition scene, it still gets me after seeing it so many times. That
and
one.
Mona.
Mona.
She's on
Mona.
Masters of Sex. If anybody watches Masters of Sex, that girl is on it.
Oh, I think we have a question over there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you and welcome to Atlanta.
Thank you.
What was the budget of the film?
It was under $1 million.
Significantly under $1 million.
That's what we're instructed to say. But it looks like a very large film, and you know, with the way that technology is improving, I mean, like even the cameras that came out like last year are now like outdated. You know what I mean? Like people, young people especially, can now just like make a movie on their phone if they wanted to and submit it, and it could be in Sundance. You know what I mean? Like so, the fact of like anybody can make a movie these days, but it has, you know, not everybody can focus a movie. And you know, when we were trying to make this movie, our budget was super small to begin with. You know, to begin with, walking into it, we were like, we're going to make this for like just over $100,000. You know, that was the goal. And our line producer was kind of like, okay, well, what about this scene though, or what about this, or whatever. And we had 52 speaking roles, 35 locations. I mean, 110 pages. Things that as a line producer, you're like, okay, no, that's not going to happen. And we were like, well, I've done things before with no money, and we have money now, so like, you're not the one for the job then, bye. We'll find somebody who will, you know, and then we finally found somebody who was like, ready to, a Michigan grad, obviously, who was like, let's do this, and so we did it. Is there another question back there? Yeah.
When you shot the first scene, was it really embarrassing because you didn't know anybody?
Well, actually, really interestingly enough, you don't shoot a movie in order. So it doesn't mean the first, you know, page of a film doesn't mean it's the first thing you're going to shoot. So that Christmas party scene was in fact not the first thing we shot. The first thing we shot was
the haircuts.
The haircuts, like me and Jake cheersing with the haircuts. So by the time that the first scene that you saw came, we all knew each other well, and we were lucky that most of the actors, I'd say 70 to 80% of the actors in the film are all our close friends. We are lucky to have really talented friends and family around us, and we wanted to use them. So there wasn't a lot of getting to know you on the set because we already know each other.
Yeah. But there were a few people that we met for the first time, you know, at 6 a.m., like in the hair and makeup chair. It's like, hey, Jake, this is Hannibal. It's like, hey, what's up? Okay, so we're shooting in 20 minutes.
I was just going to ask you, the experience you had in film before you did this, was there any, or was a little bit, or what?
It was never to this extent of, you know, like I said, it was always, I had directed many, many things before, but I was kind of always the person who was running the show, you know, and I still was running the show of this because I'm a director, obviously, but I had an entire production team behind me and support
staff. Did you ever do a full-length movie
No,
before?
this was my first feature, yeah.
All right. Now, all the people in the credits, I mean, you've got a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
Did everybody get paid?
Well, not all of anybody who was listed as crew or actors or anything got paid, but not in the special thanks. I mean, where we thanked like Ben and Jerry's, we didn't pay them, but we got permission for Ben and Jerry's to use a Ben and Jerry's thing. You know, like that. We got permission from AIDS Walk to use AIDS Walk on the shirt. We got permission from Apple to use an iPhone. Like all of these things. We got permission from Google to Google that thing. From YouTube to have our blogs on YouTube. Like we shot the blogs because we didn't have our permission from Google and YouTube before we started shooting, because it was a very long process, so we had to shoot all of that 2 ways. We shot it all with something else called like Videog, like a fake site that we built, so we had to do everything twice. So that, you know, when you have 15 days, we shot this entire movie in 15 days too. So when you only have 15 days total, like, we don't really have time to be shooting things 2 ways, you know what I mean? But we had to do it.
And how long to edit?
I think like 2 months.
Yeah.
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 And Jake, the blogs actually, so just so you guys have an idea, like on a big budget film, you'll usually get 2 pages, maybe a page and a half done a day. So for the entire time that you're there, you were doing 1.5 pages to 2 pages. So you're saying the same 4 lines the entire time. And we would do 13 to 15 pages a day. So when we would get there, our crew, who had been working on big movie sets, was like, there's no way you're gonna finish this today. And we're like, no, we'll do it. And the blogs that happened at the end when I
Every single thing in her apartment building was one day.
Yeah, so all those blogs, all that, all happened in one day. So that was truly me going crazy.
All the improv class, every single thing in the improv class was one day. So we did like the first 2/3 of the day was like the big chunk of the scene, and then the last third, I was just kind of like, all right, we're just gonna change outfits as quickly as we can and do a different improv game in every outfit. Let's go. And then we just we're like, change outfits. And I was like, Sas, what game are you doing? And she's like, we'll do 3, 2, 1. And then we would do 3, 2, 1, and we'd shoot it, and we'd be like, great, go change another outfit. And we just kept going until our, second assistant director was like, time.
So when you get to be big stars, you'll sit in your trailer and just show up for 5 minutes, and
Right. That's the
be
goal.
be like Will Smith had that trailer in New York that
Right.
everybody complained about.
Right, yes.
Where'd the giraffe come from?
Jake and I knew we wanted her to become like kind of YouTube sensation famous haphazardly, not meaning to, so we needed some big event to happen behind her that would be caught on tape that she had no idea. And so I don't really remember how we came about it, but we're like,
I think we
animals.
came about it because one of us was in the bathroom or something, and Sas has
Oh, yeah.
photos of a giraffe in her bathroom or something. Somebody came out and they're like, I got it, it's a giraffe. And actually, we originally were gonna have it be a goose, and then a bear, and then a giraffe. And we were talking to like an animal trainer in New York about like how we would do this, and we were like, okay, like we could green screen it and like blah blah. And he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you a list of all the different animal options. Just what do they have to do? And I was like, they just have to walk from one side to the other side. And he gave me the whole list, and he's like, okay, just to let you know, the sloth probably won't be able to do the walk. I was like, okay, thanks. So that was just a VFX shot of the giraffe, and we just green screened it on the thing. Yeah.
You mentioned that you had to get permission. Why didn't you get them to be your sponsors for the film?
Like Ben and Jerry's?
Yeah.
I think it's a little easier said than done. I would love, if Ben and Jerry's would want to come on, but it wasn't a movie about Ben and Jerry's, so that was
And we're not James Franco and Natalie Portman, so Ben and Jerry's isn't going to give us 30 grand to make a movie.
If that were the case.
Maybe they would have, but it was it would have been a whole process of then we have to fly to Vermont to give something to the board and blah, blah. We just kind of decided this whole thing, the whole idea of this movie was, we want to show people what we can do on our own, so that then they can look and say, wow, they did that on their own? Now let's, let them do something else, like this Warner Brothers thing or whatever, so as hard as it was, we're still dealing with things right now, I'm still driving the drives to Burbank to fix there's one little something in the text, before we get to our distributor. That's me who's doing that still. There's no enormous support staff underneath us. In independent film, it is you got to do it all, or else nobody else will. Yeah.
Hey, I enjoyed your movie a lot.
Thank you.
I had a question.
So when I was watching the draft scene, for a moment I was thinking, is this her going crazy? Because there were, with her hallucinating the giraffe, because there were moments in the film where it seemed like there was surrealism that was happening. So what inspired those moments of surrealism, when she was miming her sadness, and those other scenes were kind of interjected or interrupted reality?
Basically, like we said, we wanted to make an homage to comedy, and we wanted to show that Barb, this character, sees the world through comedy-colored lenses. So when she'd be looking at her bosses and how, what kind of schmucks they would turn into the Three Stooges, and automatically that's how she viewed them. And then she'd come back and they were back to being her bosses. And we played with that a lot. There are a few that you didn't get to see. At the end, that line in the middle of the improv scene, I say, yeah, I'll try not to get raped on the train. And originally I turned into Charlie Chaplin, but it ended up getting cut. So there were a few other ones. Kramer, you got to see at the end, but it was originally supposed to be in the film. And we wanted to pay homage to these classic comedy moments. Lucy eating the donuts, we made it, the chocolate, we made it with the bagels. But at the end, we particularly wanted the audience to feel that way. That was oh, this is another one of Barb's classic things. But there's not really a famous, the good old giraffe walking by the window.
Giraffe bit gets you every time.
So then when you realize it's real, and the pop-up zoo is just such a callback to that absurd concept. And
but originally all those ones in the credits were in the movie, and then we got a lot of different feedback from people where they'd be like, they're not all consistent, or that one pulled me out, or this one did this, or blah, 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 blah. But then, you know, talking about a small budget movie, we paid all that money for the VFX, for the ears, and for the cartoons. So we're like, we're going to use that. So we put it in the credits so that everybody can see it.
We got the rap sign.
Great.
Well, thank you guys
thank
so
you
much.
so much for coming.
Sas
Tell your
Goldberg,
friends.
Jane Wilson. We'll look for the TV show.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Tell your friends.